Payby was incorporated in 1997, Valentine's Day actually. It grew out of community action to advocate that our city, our police, our Ministry of Justice do something about the demand side of prostitution. And out of that community advocacy came the Prostitution Offender Program. And when that was created by all the parties, the Minister of Justice of the day and the police chief of the day said the men would pay the equivalent of a fine and attend an 8-hour program, and that the fees generated would be returned to the community to create strategies to address exploitation and the multiple harms in our community in Edmonton. I have this official title of Executive Director of the Prostitution Awareness and Action Foundation of Edmonton. I did go to university and I studied linguistics, and that again opened up more. You know, I learned different languages, different cultures. And then I decided that I would, I have children and they were young and I was gone half of the time, so I decided that I would stay home and get involved more as a volunteer. And about that time that I made that decision, what I would call street prostitution activity really began to erupt in our neighborhood, which is, has anyone ever been to the stadium, the Commonwealth Stadium? So we live right by the Commonwealth Stadium, we back on it. And because of our house backed onto the, you know, kind of a dead end, and we had a hedge, that was often a place where, you know, men would pick up young girls and women on 95th Street, like Little Italy, and then they would come and park outside our house at any time of the day or night, and, you know, I might be going out to a meeting, or, you know, I have sons, you know, they'd be out playing in the yard and there'd be sexual activity taking place just in full sight. So of course, you have to say, what's going on? And then, what can I do? The other thing that began to happen to us because of where we lived, and we always leave our lights on at night, is in those early days we had a number of women come knocking at our door trying to flee violent men. And again, this was just all awareness for me, like, what's happening? And so having the opportunity to talk to some of the women, because of course we didn't turn them away, we said, come in and, you know, what's happening? And then learning that one of the women just lived a few blocks away. So then we're neighbors. Some find themselves to be in vulnerable situations at some point in their lives, whether that is as a child, a young person, say around the age of 14, or as an older woman who may be faced with poverty. So there's a whole range of issues, but there's some vulnerability for the majority of the women that, you know, that pulls them into sexual exploitation.
And men?
And men?
On the other.
Well, and we should say something about the males who become involved in sexual exploitation. The 100% have experienced some degree of sexual abuse. With women, it can be, usually as children, with girls and women, it can be around 80% have experienced some kind of mental, physical, or sexual abuse. What's happening? Who's being hurt? Who has power? Who do we need to talk to? Who are our allies? What, you know, what are the negative forces? So we, as a community group of citizens, engage in these kind of questions. And we said, what do we need to learn? And at that time, there were 250 girls under the age of 18 being sexually exploited in our community. And there were about 750 women. And we know this because the police service in 1992 counted and documented. And we said, oh my goodness, you know, there's a 12-year-old girl on the corner and a 12-year-old girl who can't get to school safely. because men are circling both of them. And my good friend has daughters, and her daughters would come home in tears like, "Mom, why did that man stop me? Why did he follow me home?" And you know, another time their little 4-year-old was out playing on the veranda, and her dad came home, and she said, "Look, Daddy," and she had a used pink condom, and she thought it was a balloon. I mean, sometimes when men have been arrested for trying to pick up a 14-year-old, "Well, don't tell my wife, you know, I have a daughter at home." Like, where's the connection here? But it is, there's some guys are able to disconnect. So this is the kind of things that were happening all around us. So we said, this is bigger than us. We need to talk to the police. We need to talk to the street outreach group. We need to learn, and we invited Student Legal Services to come and help us learn about the laws that were in place. And then we started doing media walks, and what we analyzed was that it was the men who were circling who had the most impact upon us. Well, Edmonton, I think, has a strong history of bringing people together to tackle different aspects of the issue, because it's multifaceted. We in Edmonton do have the 2 alternative measures programs, the Prostitution Offender Program and the Diversion Program. We have other types of intervention, both in, like, say, the drug treatment court. And so I think in Edmonton we're trying to work around the circle. What we're missing, though, is safe houses for people who are still active in their addictions. We do have a 10-year plan on homelessness, but it's just begun, and there are some really positive things happening. However, there is not sufficient funding for some of the things that need to happen. What we are short on is good prevention programs at earlier ages, so that we're helping children and young people grow up to be healthy young adults and not be pulled into the drug trade or be pulled into any part of the circle of exploitation. So we're doing some things well, and we have gaps and challenges in others.